When will I get married? That's some of the questions that I get asked sometimes when people find out that I can read an astrological chart, Chinese astrology more specifically. But any kind of astrology can read something along the lines, I'm afraid to say that. So in this video, I want to really get into this will I get married thing and learn to ask better questions. Because just today I had another conversation with one of my patients, and he said, hey Octavian, you know, my son has just passed, well, he's taken an exam, right? And we're waiting for the results. He's done this admission exam in university, and you know, can you tell us whether he will pass or not? And I was telling him, you know, this is not what astrology does. We're not predicting the future. The future is not set in stone, and that's not how we use astrology. The way that we use astrology is not to predict the future, but to actually use it as a map, to get the lay of the land, if you will, right? So that means, what is in front of us? What is it that we need to focus on? What are the fundamental pieces on the chessboard? What are the things we should take note of? Opportunities, threats, potential, and how do we play this game to the best of our abilities? What is the best move to do? And what is the most likely outcome? But you see, there is no future prediction here. Similarly, when it comes to, you know, will I get married? Listen, if you want to, you can get married tomorrow. That's not how things go. I remember I was in Malaysia a number of years ago. I think it was 2019. And at that time, I was also studying and also practicing my BaZi reading skills. BaZi is Chinese astrology, for those of you who don't know. And I remember very clearly that at one point there was this very, very classical, that's why I remember it, very classical set of circumstances in which two ladies came to me. There was a mother and her daughter. So the mother, I think, was in her 30s, the 70s. And the daughter was in her 30s, early 30s, right? Something like that. And they came together. It was very visible that the daughter was somewhat shy and timid and a little bit, you know, retracted in her. And the mother was kind of, you know, very firm and powerful. And the mother said to me, hi, Mr. Octavian, Dr. Octavian, they called me. Could you tell us when my daughter will be getting married? And I tried really hard not to laugh because it was so classical, so out of the book, so obvious. It was clear to me that the poor lady was concerned for her daughter because she was getting older and she wasn't finding a partner, and there was a lot of emotional turmoil. The daughter was very clearly a little bit embarrassed, at the same time tormented. It was very clear on the mimic of her face that she was frustrated because she hadn't been able to find a partner, frustrated, and also it was visible that she was suffering. I felt that I could see on her face that there was sadness and loneliness, and she was clearly longing for a partner. I knew that because in years and years and years of therapy, I had talked and consulted so many patients. I had talked to so many patients who had been in those exact positions, and I knew that face. I knew those, you know, micro expressions on the face so well. And so there was this turmoil, you know, when will my daughter get married, and can you read it in a BaZi chart? And theoretically, according to classical BaZi, yes, you can. Practically, that's a misunderstanding. It's like reading the Bible and taking the Bible literally, word for word, without any kind of interpretation whatsoever, thinking that it is literally everything that is there happened exactly as it is written, right? Without taking into account the numerous, transcriptions of the Bible and translations and stuff like that. Anyway, coming back to față, I felt that there's need to clarify a little bit what's the best question we can ask. Because it's not that we should ask, will I get married? And față will tell you, oh, it's going to be in 2027, whatever, right? It's not like that. That's not how it's supposed to be used. Any kind of astrology, Chinese astrology or any kind of astrology. But I cannot dismiss the question outright either, because there is some grain of truth to that. So I decided to make this video in order for us to get more in detail, as in how we understand this and how to ask better questions. Because it is so much about the questions. It is so much about, how we approach the subject. There's a contrast here. If we were to talk about business, for example, in business, what happens is that you have a business project, you have a business plan, and immediately there are things you can do. When it comes to business, you can do a plan, get to action immediately. When it comes to finding a right partner, you're pretty much stuck. There is so much you don't control. So of course there's anxiety, there's a lot of emotion going on, there's frustration, there's loneliness, there's a whole range of feelings, and I've seen, because this has been one of the questions that I've battled in my own history, in my own personal life with, not precisely, will I get married or when will I get married, but when will I find the right partner for me, right? And probably some of you are wondering not so much about marriage, but when you will be finding the right partner. And I've taken this question into my own personal therapy. I've struggled with it. I've used all the instruments at my disposal. Psychotherapy, tarot, which by the way has been extremely helpful in helping me understand the wisdom behind it, Chinese astrology, and all that. And of course acupuncture and many others. What I want to share with you in this video is what is the takeaway, what we can focus on, because there are some things we cannot influence, like for example the timing. What should we do when we cannot influence that? Just simply wait and just kind of waste time? Yes and no. So let's take things one by one. So first takeaway, and probably the most important, if there's only one thing that you get from this video, is the concept of let's refine the question. Because when will I get married, or when will I be choosing or finding the right partner, is the wrong question to have. What does it mean it's the wrong question? It means that it leads us into a way of thinking that is, at the very minimum, unproductive. At worst, it distracts from what the real issue is. And what do I mean by that? If you wanted to have a partner, you could probably go out and find someone pretty much right away, right? If you want something as fast as you can, will you be able to get it? Probably. To some extent. Depends on what exactly that is. But for you ladies, if you really wanted a man, you could just go out and hang out with the first available man you find. Would you want that? I would bet no, right? So is it a question of will you get married, or do you want to get married? And then the question becomes, to whom would you actually want to get married? So basically it's not a question of will you, it's a question of what exactly do you want? What is the cutoff point? How do you define the right partner? When do you say, this is where I draw the line and this is enough for me, and below this line, it's not enough for me, right? So is it a question of can or want, right? Can I get married? Will I get married? Or do I choose to get married? I would bet it's more likely to be I would choose to get married. But here is, a kind of a hidden assumption. I will definitely choose to get married once I find the right partner, right? So it's a question of availability and quality. And already you see that the emphasis has shifted. It's not so much about when will I get married, but it's actually when will I find the quality in the partner that I'm looking for that I will consider is enough for me. It's enough for what I'm looking for. So it's more of a question of quality and timing and opportunity, right? So this is a good, at least a better question. Can we refine the question more? Yes, we can. But let's focus a little bit on this. So we already from here, we can see that because this is a better question in terms of how we think about things and also in terms of what BaZi can tell us, we learn a little bit more about what BaZi can do. So what Chinese astrology or BaZi can actually do is to tell us when, timing, right, we are most likely to find a better quality partner. It's like fruits in season. You know when the season of whatever fruit is going to be, that is when you will find that particular fruit in abundance, in extraordinary quality, and at cheap prices, right? It's in season. It's in its prime, right? Similarly, there are seasons for this in our lives. We just don't know it yet. It's not so much common knowledge, right? We think that, yes, timing has a big role to play when it comes to finding the right partner, but it's not so much very clear to us when and how to describe that, let alone how to calculate it. Well, this is where BaZi comes into place, right? Comes into play. It's very, very important to understand that BaZi can tell us that. So timing, yes. Timing for finding good quality, yes. But, and here is the much, much bigger leap forward in terms of refining the question. Is it a question of opportunity? Or is it a question of timing? Or is it a question of resonance, right? Why haven't you found the right partner yet? Until now. Maybe you've had relationships before. Maybe this isn't your first relationship. So the other relationships, why have they not worked? Was there a pattern? I would venture to say that most likely there was a pattern. So did you understand what that pattern was? Because you see, when you go into therapy, when I do therapy with my patients, this is, when it comes to relationships, one of the first factors that I'm interested in. What is their relational pattern? Because whether we know it or not, we as human beings live in patterns, and those patterns are already planted as seeds from our very childhood. The way we were conditioned as children is already determining how we will be thinking and selecting our partners when it comes to relationships. Because it boils down to a few things, like for example, familiarity. We are drawn to partners that seem familiar to us. Like for example, maybe like our mother, maybe like our father, usually like the parent of the opposite sex. And we look for that familiarity. The bummer is the familiarity can come in bad ways also. Our psyche is much more interested in familiarity than it is in suffering. In happiness, sorry, right? I'll say that again. You really need to let this sink in. And it sounds very strange. Our psyche, our psychological makeup, is much more interested and much more motivated to find something that is familiar rather than to find something that makes us happy. So that is saying, if we want to choose a relational dynamic which is unfamiliar to us, but is happy. And we have the choice of something that is much more familiar, but unhappy because we didn't have a very happy childhood, or we were witnessing some dynamics which were not okay. What that actually translates into is we will be much more inclined, without therapy, without working on it, just by letting things flow in our lives, we will be much more inclined to draw in our lives completely subconsciously, completely unaware, those partners and those dynamics which mimic what we do at home. So maybe for some of you this is news. Maybe for some others of you who have been into therapy, this is like common knowledge. Come on, Octavian, tell us something new. I hope that there's more of you in the second part, because I really want you guys to benefit from therapy and the emotional evolution it brings. But I also want to ask those of you, regardless of whether you've been to therapy or not, if you understand this, what's the next step, right? Because it's easy to fall into the trap of availability. Oh, you know, I'm not in a relationship because I haven't found the right partner. So what can I do? Wait, right? Wait. This is also the same thing that brings up the question of when will I get married? When will I find the right partner? As if the timing is the only thing wrong. Well, guess what? I've had numerous patients, numerous people that I've known for whom, you know, the BaZi said, hey, that particular time period is very good for you to find the right partner, right? Or as much as you can talk about a right partner. And that period came and went. Initially, when I was studying BaZi, I was thinking, hang on, what's going on, right? I mean, I thought that they were supposed to be able to find a partner. And then as I became increasingly more interested in all this, especially with the people that were closer to me and to whom I had more intimate knowledge of their lives, I actually saw that the opportunity was there. I recognized the opportunity when it presented itself, and those people didn't. So it was not so much the timing, but also the fixed chart. What I mean to say is that in astrology, you have the fixed natal chart, and then you have the dynamic chart. When you ask a question about timing, you will be asking a question which in BaZi chart mechanism is translated from overlapping the passing of time, which is the dynamic chart, with the fixed chart that you have, right? Basically your natal chart. And you see how these overlap, and you see when there's a higher chance of finding someone who you can be in a relationship with. But the thing that does not change is your natal chart. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that, my friend, is the most important focus. And this is the deepest level that I can imagine at which we should be asking the right questions, right? So if I'm having trouble finding the right person, maybe there's something wrong with me. Now, I know some of you are asking that question and you're thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. That's not the point. That's not the right direction to drift in. To be thinking that I'm not good enough is almost like stating that you might as well kill yourself. Or maybe not so dramatic, but to go into another extreme and say, oh, I'm never going to find the right partner. Again, it's not what this is about. What this is about is to understand what exactly is making you, as we can understand the structure in your natal chart, in your BaZi chart, what exactly predisposes you to have relational issues, relationship difficulties. Because those things are not set in stone. It's almost like, you know, looking at a chessboard and seeing the chess pieces on the table and thinking, oh my God, you know, it's so bad, you know, and it's like, there's nothing to be done. Yes, there is. We're here to play the board. We're here to move the pieces. We're here to learn something. We're here to change, to evolve, to heal. That chart is not the final destination. That chart is the starting point. What you do with it, that's what counts most. Because let's say in your BaZi chart you have a bad structure when it comes to relationships, that simply means you have some trauma. Traumas can be healed. When they are healed, you can attract a partner which is much better than what the chart says. Because you see, this is a very little known fact about BaZi. The same chart has a flexibility which is baked in it, which says, and therein lies the power of the free will, depending how you play your pieces on the table, the same chart can be manifested in a better way or in a worse way. Of course, there are some constraints, and that's what we are focused on to understand, where we are. Big bearings, like big, hallmarks, big ideas and lines. But within those, there's quite a lot of freedom. So this is what you should be focusing on when you're not in a relationship. This is what you should be focusing on instead of thinking, oh, when will I get married? When is not the right question. What should I be doing to become a better partner? What should I be doing to heal the wounds that keep me in this dynamic? What can I learn from past relationships? What does my BaZi chart tell me about my blind spots? Now, this is a much better question, right? What can my BaZi chart tell me about my blind spots about relationships? That is one of the best questions you can possibly ask. So learn about yourself in this way. BaZi chart can be an incredibly useful tool for that. When you do that, there's a whole world that opens up. And then you have a purpose. Then you have a purpose working for a relationship that does not exist, for which you need to do the work before the partner arrives, before the potential partner arrives. Because it's like, being present at the bus stop when the bus arrives, right? It doesn't matter that you're looking out the window towards the bus stop and the bus stop is empty because the bus hasn't arrived. Oh, when will the bus come? When will the bus come? Oh, it comes in 2 minutes. Okay. And in 2 minutes' time, the bus comes. Oh, wait, I forgot to go out and be actually present at the bus stop, and the bus goes away by the time you get there. What do I mean by that? The worst thing that can happen is that the timing is wrong until the timing changes, and then the timing is right. And you meet the right person, and you're not ready. And all the work that you should have done, all the work that you could have done, has not been done. And guess what? You will miss that opportunity. Because you cannot change the timing of the universe. But what you can do is make damn sure you don't miss the opportunities when they do arrive. So you can make use of the time by learning what to do until that point. Because you see, when one door is closed, another is open. And the same BaZi chart can actually tell you what to do, what to focus on, until the moment comes when the universe will bring you that particular partner. So I hope, guys, that this has been useful and it has brought you new perspectives. BaZi is an incredibly powerful tool, useful tool, but like any tool, it means nothing in the hands of people who don't know how to use it. And I'm not necessarily talking here about the one interpreting the chart, the specialist. I'm talking about what kind of questions you ask. Because if you ask the wrong questions, you'll be missing out on the first opportunity, which is to use a powerful tool that BaZi is the wrong way and not actually use the power in order to get results, right? So I hope now you have more tools or a better understanding to ask better questions and then live a better life. I'll see you in the next video.